Jordan Green. He's the investigative reporter with Raw Story. Rawstory.com is the website. His Twitter handle is Jordan Green NC or at Raw Story. And Jordan, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom.
My pleasure. Over at the top of Raw Story right now, there are two stories: Stalked by Nazis, how extremists tried to stop me from reporting on their violence, and Raw Story reporter Stalked by Nazis exposes plot by nationwide Nazi youth network. Jordan, what have you been digging into here? Tell us about this.
Yes, this is a story about 2119, a youth Nazi network spread across the United States. And I really started looking into this when I was looking at the Telegram channels following the attack on the electrical substation in Moore County, North Carolina in December of 2022 that made national headlines. And first saw mention of this group. 2119 is also known as Blood and Soil Crew. And they are young Nazis who are excited by industrial sabotage and mass shootings, and have kind of undertaken a coordinated campaign of kind of more low-scale violence, vandalism of synagogues and harassment of LGBTQ folks. They organize on Telegram and incorporate footage of their crimes into propaganda videos and recruit and spread in that manner.
Yeah, and you were reporting on them, and they came after you?
Yes, they kind of garnered support from a broader network of neo-Nazis, older neo-Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
Including some who were kind of unhappy about reporting that I had done on them as well. So yes, they kind of trash talked me on Telegram is kind of how it began. Doxing and then harassing phone calls, and then eventually escalated to surveillance of my home. And a couple weekends ago, 6 neo-Nazis showed up outside my home and held a short flash rally, making Sieg Heil Nazi salutes and holding emergency flares.
What did your neighbors think of that?
Honestly, it was very short, about 3 minutes. Oh. And from what I'm aware, they didn't see it. I'm actually, when I get a chance today, I'm going to reach out to them and make sure.
Yeah, see if anybody's home security camera or something. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, just make sure they're okay. And
sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry that they had to be affected to it as well.
Yeah, I get it. So we're talking with Jordan Green, the investigative reporter with Rawstory.com, about tracking down this national gang of basically young Nazis. Who are these people? How did they get radicalized? How did they end up, publicly proclaiming their Nazism? And what do their parents think of this?
Yeah, it's a great question. One of them has said on Telegram that he's been a committed National Socialist since he was 13 years old. And, knowing teenagers as I do, I think there might be a little hyperbole or bragging there. Mm. But, essentially they were radicalized on the internet. And what is definitely true is that they were lonely and looking for connection with others and validation, and didn't feel like they fit in. A lot of them come from pretty rural communities or small cities. Mm-hmm. And their parents, from what I can tell, tend to be more conservative end, even Trump supporters. But the parents are really dismayed that their kids are involved in this. And
have you reached out to the parents?
Yes, I spoke to the father of one of the kids, and I reached out to others. one of the other members, Aaron Alligat, has talked on Telegram about how much his parents disapprove of it. So
to what extent, Jordan Green, are these young Nazis a real threat to our republic or to public order, or however you want to define it, versus just kind of sad cases? And I realize that you can have both. I mean, Matthew Heimbach is probably the best example. I mean, he killed 2 people and blew the arm off a third, and yet he was almost a cartoon character. He was this pathetic, man-child. But how would you characterize them, and how is the government responding to them?
I think they do pose a very serious threat. They are kind of, they're a couple clicks more extreme than MAGA, so they have a somewhat ambivalent posture on the elections, but they're looking for, they thrive off of chaos. They want to exploit chaos and bring about the collapse of the United States. So in that sense, all of the division and polarization around the 2024 election is something that they relish.
Yeah.
And,
are they being driven by Russian social media trolls?
I think of them as like the domestic equivalent of Russian social media trolls, in that whatever they can do to exploit pre-existing divisions, they will use it to their advantage. They don't worship Trump. They see Trump as a tool for furthering division. But I think they pose a real threat. I mean, they could show up at Trump rallies or events during the election and cause chaos and instigate fights and that kind of thing.
Yeah. By the way, I misspoke. It wasn't Matthew Heimbach. It was Kyle Rittenhouse. Matthew was the young white supremacist who has been on my program years ago. But anyway.
Thank you. Yeah. I didn't think that was quite correct, but I wasn't sure. So
no, feel free to correct me if I get something wrong. But so how seriously are these guys being taken? And is this more of a local phenomenon or a national thing? I mean, is the FBI all over this, or is it more like state police, city police, or is nobody paying attention to them outside of reporters like yourself, Jordan?
National. I mean, the 2119 has members from California to New Hampshire. I will, in terms of law enforcement, I will say that the FBI has been monitoring groups like this for some time. I mean, they made significant arrests of Atomwaffen and the base, and those are accelerationist type neo-Nazi groups that seek to bring down the United States government, and 2119 very much comes out of that tradition.
Right.
So
it's a remarkable story, and I encourage people to get over to rawstory.com and check it out. Jordan, you're doing great work, taking your life in your hands, and I'm impressed and very pleased that you could drop by here and share it with us, and that you're courageous enough to report this stuff in public. Good on you. Jordan, thank you for dropping by.
Well,